Hey. Hey, folks. Oh, 1 second. I think I might have to change my resolution. Be back. Is that better? Hey, people. Hey, Jose. You're always right on the money, dude. Like, I'm surprised that it's like you're sitting at the computer just constantly waiting for me to come stream. Welcome. Alright, so it's just going to be a minute here while I get everything set up. I want to send a tweet about the stream out to try to get more folks in the chat. What's up, Brent? Thanks for coming. Let's see. Let me get the tweet going. Thanks. I don't know what was going on. I had to resend the stream key. It was a whole big kerfuffle. I wanted to check with you two while you're here. How does the audio sound? I'm having some weird troubles with my mic lately. I just want to make sure you guys can hear me okay. So let me know what it sounds like in the chat. Yeah, it just always happens to time out. Oh man, what's going on in Cursed Straw? Talk to me, Jose. I want to know. Okay, let me get to Twitter. This will just be a second, and then I will get rolling to the actual stream itself. Apologies for the delay. Are you guys enjoying my white on white right now? White face, white wall, white background. It's a lot. Okay, let's get the link. It sounds good, but a bit too much echo reverb. I'll try to bring the mic a little closer. Okay. We can also try different settings on here. What if we tried that one? Does this sound any better? What fascinating programming this is. What fascinating programming. I need a link. I need a YouTube link. And I cannot find it. They stoned you under the wizard's vineyard? Jose, what happened? What do you mean they stoned you? You got, like, biblically stoned? Like, or maybe you got, like, stoned, like, you know, you smoked some pipe weed. Let me know. Now I'm fascinated. What's going on? Hold on, folks. Let me see if I can find a better spot. Again, let me know about the sound. I apologize if it is not ideal. Okay. Still pretty echoey, it sounds like. Try that. That could be it. Let me try this. Let me try. Is this any better? How does that... What's up, Dark Dungeons? Dank Dungeons, excuse me. Is that it? That sounds the same. How's that? Oh, that's a little better. Right? I think that's better. Cool. I think I was overthinking it, everybody. Let me get rid of this. We're all learning together. We're all learning together. Cool. Let me get this tweet out there. Hey, Brooke, what's up? Just getting the link so I can share it out. This is fascinating programming, I'm sure. See if this works. Did it tweet? Oh, funny. It went at the exact same time that another one of my tweets went. Funny. Okay. Let's see. Make a monster. Cool. All right. I think we're all ready to go. Let's do this. Welcome, everybody, after all of that, to XP Weekly. I am your host, Timothy J. Meyer. I am the current showrunner for All Hail Yaga, one of the 2 showrunners on Experience Points. Yeah, thanks for swinging by. Today, we're going to do a little bit of monster design is kind of my plan. We're going to play it by ear. I don't have a lot of plan or strategy as to how this is going to go today, but one of the projects that I wanted to work on for our Patreon backers. Oh yeah, smart, Brooke. Brooke is currently deciding who our backup should be for the Dungeon Crawl campaign that we play on Patreon. Anyway, I was saying, one of the things I'm trying to do is create some more RPG materials for our patrons. It was one of the things that they expressed interest in when I posted a poll about that. So right now, we're going to be thinking, we're going to work on generating some ideas and maybe even some mechanics for what I want to call the villainous volumes. These little bundles of basically monsters that DMs can drop into their campaigns. Each one of these monsters being based on one of the villains that appears in All Hail Yog. So today we're going to brainstorm some ideas, I think, for how we could mechanize some of these characters. I was going to start with Agnoment, but we might move on to other areas or other monsters. And then also there was some interest from some of our patrons in designing a version of the Abomination, basically the class that Eric plays in All Hail Yog. If you're watching this and you haven't listened to All Hail Yog, I bet you're wondering, what the hell is he talking about? Well, All Hail Yog is our actual play D&D podcast that we release weekly. They're short episodes, and it's an evil campaign. The conceit is that the characters are basically the fell servants of a dark lord. They're the Nazgul. They go out into the world and enact Yog's plans upon the world. Yog being this incorporeal ancient evil that's been sealed within the earth. So I wanted to design some RPG materials to go along with that campaign and release them both for our patrons and also for people on the DMs Guild. Here's a link to All Hail Yog. I'm going to drop it in the chat in case you happen to wander in and have no idea what we're talking about. Yes, the really evil campaign, Jose, correct. So I think we're going to start with Agnoment and just start by brainstorming some cool ideas. The difficulty with some of these characters is that, like, they obviously mechanize as PCs, right, by using class abilities and things like that. But for monsters, I feel like we can kind of break the mold a little bit and do some crazy stuff. Yes, Lex, hashtag All Hail Yog. So let's start with Agnoment. Let's tuck in. Here, 1 second, actually. I want to make sure that we are plugged in okay. 1 sec. I'm not getting any charge from some of these outlets. A moment, please. The last thing I want to do is run out of battery right in the middle of the stream. That would be pretty catastrophic. BRB. Who the hell is King Torg, Jose? Tell me. We have power. Perfect. Okay, I'm back. So, Le Gasp. So we're going to talk about Agnoment. So if you haven't listened to the show, Agnoment is Kate Enge's character, and they are basically a fallen angel. This is a character who made a pact with Yogg, who was summoned hundreds of years ago to serve a mortal church, and made a pact with Yogg after seeing that humanity was basically faithless and dissolute and becoming jaded with their mission to bring divinity to the mortal races. So it's kind of a fallen angel conceit. Anybody here has seen Neverwhere or read Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman? I think one of the big inspirations, at least for me anyway, with the character was Islington in that, or Kate references Constantine a lot, and Gabriel, played by Tilda Swinton, in that. So the notion is basically an otherwise good-aligned character, like a character that is the prototypical goodness personified, right, that is now turned dark and gone to the dark side, basically Lucifer or fallen angel. So we need to think of some ideas for ways we could... Yeah, the obvious thing here, I have the Deva thrown up, which you can see, which is the sort of CR10 level version of an angel in D&D. One of the things I wanted to do with these RPG materials was basically to design a CR5, a CR10, and a CR15 version of each bad guy, so that way they could be used at different levels, right? The CR5 being the easiest and CR15 being the highest. That way you could have them be like a reoccurring villain throughout the course of your campaign, right? In addition to having monster stat blocks, I wanted to include a lot of other information. I wanted to include things like, you know, potential lairs, or maybe even minions, or things like that you could pair them with. That way it's more than just, here's a stat block that you get for purchasing this. Yeah, so, you know, general flavor, their background, how to roleplay the character, or maybe even some lair actions if they're for higher level characters. Ways to incorporate them into your campaign, and like minions that they might associate with. So let's think about Agnoment for a second and think about like standard abilities that they might have. So the Deva, if you look over here, just brainstorm some abilities and some traits, we'll say. Like, what are some things that are definitionally angelic? So we have armor class should be high, right? We got like 17. They've got plate armor. They have immunities to things like radiant damage. Since that they're a fallen angel, I'm even going to say necrotic damage. Let's see. They are immune to charmed, exhaustion, and fear. I like that. Being immune to fear. Please also shout out ideas in the chat, too, if you have a hit on something. I would love to see that. Oh, look at that. Way too big. Let's zoom this out. There's 75%. And then move this guy around. Frightened. Yeah, good. Great. Frightened. Even go one more. Maybe go to 50. Might make it a little small. But y'all can still read that, right? Yeah, cool. Let's see. Get in the chat here. Flight, of course. Of course. Dark side does have cookies. That's a good point, Brooke. Come join the dark side. Flight is a big one, so movement. Flight is their big go-to. Agnoment in particular, as far as weapons are concerned, has a bow that deals necrotic damage. And the way Kate flavors it is she has them deal necrotic damage on a crit. So that might be an interesting way that, like, when they get a critical, they can deal an additional punch of damage. One thing we want to try to do is stay as far away as we can. Not as far away. We want to try to be distinct from the actual Deva as it appears in the book, because I feel like we want to make the character, this monster, feel unique. This isn't just some run-of-the-mill angel. This is kind of your super evil angel, right? This is your big bad evil guy in a campaign, or potentially like a servant of a greater villain. We just don't want to use what's in the monster manual without scraping at least some of those serial numbers off. They have, for special abilities, they have things like healing touch, right? Basically lay on hands. Divine smite in some capacity. You know, extra radiant damage. I know the Deva just gets like a boatload of it. The Deva just gets like a huge Oh, they have yeah, Angelic Weapons say that every time they hit, they get an extra 4d8 radiant damage, which like blows my mind. That's crazy. They have multi-attack here too, which I think Agnoment has. So we'll put attacks maybe instead of weapons. Attacks, and we'll say multi-attack. They have changed shape here. Like they can turn themselves into an average-looking humanoid. I'm not as into that for Agnoment. I feel like it doesn't really come up in the adventure, and we never really gave that to her for her character. Oh, let's say this. Let's go. Armor of Invulnerability. So one of the things that Agnoment has in the adventure is that one of her items is the Armor of Invulnerability. That's sort of like ghostly green armor. Not green, the ghostly like wispy armor that we flavored as basically that was the flavor for an item that exists, which is the Armor of Invulnerability. Boy, I'm marble mouthed today. That reduces all critical hits into normal hits. So maybe some ability that Agnoment can't be crit, any crit dealt to Agnoment is automatically turned into a regular hit. Oh, let's see. Yeah, I was referencing the Angel from Neverwhere. Hey, what's going on, Vaughn? Thanks for swinging by. Let's see. What other things does the Angel have here? I think that's pretty much... Oh, and they have magic resistance, which we could give. Maybe the higher level version has that. Magic resistance. And then they have innate spell casting. And this is another one that Agnoment uses quite a bit. So we have... What kinds of spells do they use? They're all Oathbreaker Paladin spells. So like Darkness and Crown of Madness, etc. Okay, cool. That feels good for some base stuff. What are some other cool angelic things we can do? Other abilities, other like traits. The cultists that like worship Agnoment have a thing with sight where they can't look at them. The angel, they're unworthy to look at them. So maybe there's some kind of a blinding power or something like that. There's also Agnoment's musical theme is like a Gregorian chant. So there might be some kind of a Gregorian chant. Oh, I totally forgot. Their other big thing is the Dreadful Shroud, which is a combination of the Azamar's ability and the Oathbreaker Paladin's ability. So definitely Dreadful Shroud. I feel like that's their recharge or their like once per encounter, you know? It's like their big bang. Fear Field, yes, exactly. Ooh, perhaps she has an aura which suppresses certain abilities within range of the aura based on abilities the angel had before they fell. Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, Jose, that's right on the money. Celestial Adamantine is the Armor of Invulnerability. Very cool. Maybe take spells from Cleric of Death. Yep, definitely got some Oathbreaker Paladin type spells in there. I love the aura which suppresses certain abilities within range of the aura based on abilities the angel had before they fell. So, yeah, that's cool. So the normal angel can do Healing Touch, and we do see Agnoment use that, but I wonder if there's kind of a, like, an inverse version in this version of Agnoment. Because, again, they can be distinct. They don't have to be the same. They should have the same flavor and the same ideas and some of the same concepts. But this isn't Kate's character. This is, like, an interpretation of Agnoment. So what if Healing Touch is replaced with, like, an Inflict kind of a thing, and the aura suppresses different things? Maybe I'm trying to figure out, because if we do the 3 different iterations, if we do the 5, the 10, and the 15, you don't want to have all the money be in one of them. Maybe they have an aura, and that aura, depending on which interpretation you use, the 5, the 10, or the 15, gets worse, right? And so it might start with something simple, like healing spells are suppressed in the aura, but then it adds a fear effect at the 10th level one. So it's not only an effect that suppresses healing, but it also frightens people, and then the 10th or the 15th level one has necrotic damage or some other extra juice in there. I like that. Something like that. Aura that suppresses healing. It could be that, like, if the angel used to give people advantage, it is on saving throws and things, like, because they're a paladin, right, against fear and things like that, the aura could give them disadvantage on saving throws against fear, which makes it even nastier because the angel itself has fear effects, right? I like that. Sickness touch. That's kind of cool. I wonder how you would flavor that. Or how you would mechanize that. Could be like a Raven Feeblement thing. Yeah, exactly, Brent. You're right on the money. He says, that makes sense. Ramp it up. That way, if the same party encounters them at each challenge level, they still get surprised by their abilities. That's exactly right. I want to create the idea that this could be a reoccurring villain, and that each time you face them, it's not just, oh yeah, it's these same couple of abilities. You could even change the spells in the natural spell casting, right, to make them a little bit more unique. Each time, they get bigger and nastier spells. I like the sickness thing. I want to write that down. So one of the other ideas I had for Agnoment specifically was that because they lead... Oh yeah, we want to put minions on here too. Maybe there's a cool thing, like all of the cultists that you meet in the first scene, as I mentioned, are all blind or blindfolded. So maybe there's a thing where like the cultists, the minions that might come with Agnoment are blindfolded, and therefore like maybe they have blind sight or something like that, that like they're used to operating with blindfolds on. 30 feet or 25 feet, maybe even less, like blind sight 15 feet, but like within close proximity. And they would have immunity to being blinded as well, because they're blindfolded. But I liked the idea of coming up with lair actions for the 15th level one, right? Maybe the CR5 is just kind of a standard monster, right? Still tough, but standard. And then the CR10 has legendary actions, it's a legendary monster. And then the CR15 has legendary actions and lair actions. I like that. So we'll say this is 15th level. And then legendary actions are 10th level. So most of the time with like legendary actions, you want them to be essentially the same abilities, maybe with like one fancy one. Make it more evil. Give the usual protection on a D4 chance, so they don't know it's a fallen angel. So they know it's a fallen angel. Could you explain that, Jose? I'm not 100% sure what you mean. It seems cool. It seems like you have an idea in mind, but I wanna get my head around it. Brooke is eating a cookie. I want to eat a cookie. I don't have any cookies here with me. Phooey. It's very evil, though. It's a dark cookie. So what kinds of lair actions? Well, let's talk about what kind of lairs they might have. Agnoment is in a graveyard when we first meet them, right? Obviously, like an abandoned church. Oh, what about like a cathedral gables, right? Like Notre Dame style. So then, if that's the case, then it feels like one of the lair actions has to be like stone angels come to life or something like that for a turn, right? Animate and attack. Or do something else, right? Like, oh, it sounds delicious, Brooke. It sounds delicious. Stone angels. I mean, the dead, right? But like dead rise. But that feels, if you're not in a graveyard necessarily, then that feels tough to do. What do you guys think about lair actions or legendary actions? Are there some of these abilities that we could farm out into those? The Aura of Fear feels like it has to be a standard thing. Maybe the Fear Aura is a legendary action. You know, it could be like used in response to something that like they go down or they whatever, you know? Sure, a demon would create a permanent disadvantage. A fallen angel, once in a while, it gives the visuals of what he was at a chance of the fallen. Oh. I see. Interesting. So it would like occasionally give a positive benefit? Like in the aura? Or what do you mean? Yeah, gargoyles are cool, Brooke. I agree, especially if you do a Notre Dame thing, like stone angels. Could there be something about, like, I did this with the Eater of Kingdoms, the Athamhotep build that I did, where, like, priests and clerics and paladins and stuff had their spells fucked up because when they were around Athamhotep, because it's sort of this, like, bane sent by the gods. So is there something you could do with lair actions? I guess that's more of a regional effect, like a lair action where, like, a divine spellcaster, you know, rolls with disadvantage or something like that. I'm not sure. Let's see. Well, okay, let's get into the nitty gritty here. I may have to enlarge this just because I am having a difficult time reading it personally, but we'll see. Maybe we'll go to like a custom one. We'll go to like 65%. Is that a little better? That's a little easier for me to read. Move it for y'all. Okay. So, Agnoment, Angel of Doom. So we'll say that this is they're a medium celestial, regardless. Let's maybe start with I'm gonna say lawful neutral for now, because that's actually Agnoment's alignment, but we may change that depending. Let's start with the CR5 version. So let me actually pull up. Of course, we have the Deva here, which is not particularly helpful. Let me pull up a CR5 monster, just to get an idea. Oh, yeah, you guys can see me looking. That's funny. I'll look in the other window, so we can keep that going. Yeah, minor Arf, maybe 1 turn, followed by full madness and anger. Number of turns where the darkness goes full strength because the wound flares. The lair should embody Yog's essence. Is Yog a being of chaos? Yog is definitely a being of chaos. One thing I think, though, that we want to try to do with these, because we're giving them away, because I'm going to put them on the DM's Guild, potentially, I don't necessarily want to, like, shackle each character to Yog, because Yog might not be a part of anybody else's campaign. You know, I think the villains have to kind of stand on their own and do their own thing, regardless of any connections they might have to a higher power. I might allude to that in the text as something like, Agnoment could be serving an even greater evil, something like that. But I want Agnoment to kind of stand on their own. There may be a way to, in the layers, suggest something about, like, the inner darkness inside of Agnoment that isn't just of their own power. But I'm hesitant to, like, really work Yog too deeply into the mechanics, because I just don't know. I think it's a lot to ask a Dungeon Master to, like, not only include this villain, but also include, like, the bigger, more omnipotent villain behind them, if they might have something more important they want to do. Like, let's say somebody's bad guy is, you know, Lord Soth. It's like a Death Knight. Agnoment could easily serve a character like that, but, you know, that's dependent on their individual campaign. Anyway, so let me real quick just look for a CR5 monster that we can use, just as a basis. What's a good, like, 5-ish creature? Air Elemental. All the elementals are 5, yeah. Do we have anything that's kind of... The Vampire Spawn doesn't feel too different. Yeah, let's look at the Vampire Spawn. Look at their stats just generally. They have 15 AC. I think Agnoment's got to have a little bit better armor class than that. So let's say armor class. We'll keep the armor class at 17. I don't think that that's ridiculous. They have 82 hit points. So let's see. How would we do this? It would be based on oh, yeah, it's based on, like, hit dice. I'm realizing now that I'm doing my, like, shoddy monster design, not, like, actually approved hit dice monster design. So we're going to leave the hit points blank for now, because there's, like, a whole system, I'm pretty sure, where you have to go through and figure out individual, like, how many hit dice do they have and what's their proficiency bonus. The Vampire Spawn has 11d8, and their proficiency bonus then becomes +3, I think, which is fine. We can at least say that. So their speed is going to be 30 feet, right? I wonder what kind of flight they should have. So they have big angel wings. The Deva has 90-foot flight, which feels like a little much, especially for the lowest level version here. What else can fly at 5th level? The Wraith maybe is a good... Although the Wraith is incorporeal. They say fly 60 feet and hover. I think that's fine. Let's say fly 60 feet, and we'll give them hover, because Agnoment does do it at one point. Great. And then we'll come down here and we'll do damage resistances. So what did we talk about? We said Radiant for sure. Now the actual Angel has resistances to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. The Vampire has that too at 5th level, but the Vampire has a bunch of other, like, weaknesses and vulnerabilities.
So I wonder if it's better to keep that stuff. What if it's better to keep that stuff out of Agnoment for now, balance-wise? Let's say damage. Maybe we'll go damage immunities, Radiant and Necrotic, but then not make them resistant to bludgeoning, slashing, and piercing. We can maybe do that at a higher level, but I don't know if we want to do that right now. I want to add the proficiency bonus in there just so that way I don't forget. So let's actually do this. Let's go proficiency bonus. It's +3. And then saving throws. What are Paladin saving throws? They're Wisdom and Charisma, I think. Yeah, that's what the Angel gets here. So, oh, we gotta figure out their ability scores. Shoot. Okay. So the Vampire Spawn is a good place to at least get... Yeah, they lost those resistances when they fell. I like that, Brent. You're right. So let's see. I'm gonna just steal the ability score. The Wraith. I'm sorry, I was gonna say. I'm gonna steal the ability scores, at least the array, off of the Vampire Spawn, just to get a base block to go from. Oh, they're really good though. So we have a 16, a 16, a 16, an 11, a 10, and a 12. So I feel like Agnomont's dump stat, I know, ironically, is Wisdom. One of the ideas that Kate had was that the character was essentially very naive, and they couldn't really see through Yogg's deception, that Yogg was basically tricking them into working for it. So I feel like a low Wisdom is still good, but that also feels strange for basically like a Paladin character. If they were very wise, though, maybe they wouldn't have lost faith. You know, that's the whole conceit, is that the character is faithless and has lost, you know, whatever divinity they used to possess. So it seems like a low Wisdom might actually make sense. And low is comparative here. We're talking like a 10 Wisdom. So if we say 10 Wisdom, Wisdom is 10. Dexterity, I feel like, should be the highest, or one of the highest, because they're an archer. I like 16 Charisma as well. 16 Charisma, because they're a cult leader. And we'll just be generous, and we'll give them 16 Constitution, because they're sort of, you know, an angelic being. They're immune to things like sickness and disease, strength. Oh, that's a good thing to put in, yeah. Condition immunities. Exhaust. Oh, you had to have exhaustion. I don't know. Can you be immune to disease? Is that a thing? I know you can. Paladins are, so we should maybe do that too. Condition immunities. They have charmed. I'm fine with that. Exhaustion. Is it too much to make them immune to being charmed at CR5? Let me look at the vampire. Vampire is not immune to any of that stuff. I like exhaustion and frightened, but we'll maybe take off charmed for now and put it in later. Because, I mean, that's the whole conceit, right? Is they can be, like, duped. They were duped by, yeah, paladins have celestial health. Yeah, oh, that's really smart. Oh, okay, cool. Everyone's behind me on low wisdom paladins. That's good. I really like that, Vaughn, that maybe falling damaged their wisdom, that, like, they used to be wiser, and the act of rebellion, like, sapped some of their wisdom. That's really cool. Good hit, man. Yeah, low wisdom paladins. Let's do it. Yogg is quite charming. Have you seen the anime story of the Hero of the Shield? Naive main character turns to using only slaves because he doesn't know who to trust. Yeah. I mean, that's the conceit, right? That, like, naivete can kind of sometimes lead into wickedness, that if you don't know any better, you're not able to see the wool being pulled over your eyes. I like that. So then the saving throws, I think, would still be wisdom and charisma, though. So lowish wisdom would only be a +3, which is fine. And then charisma should be pretty good, would be a +6. Let's beef a couple of these up a little bit, just because I want to make them even better. So we're going to go 18 dexterity and 18 charisma. All right. Well, if they're CR5, then they would get, like, yeah. We'll do 18 dexterity for now, and we'll leave that there. Maybe as we get higher level, we can give them more ability increases. Okay, cool. That's all good. Where are we at next? Next up, we have skills. Skills. Let's see. What did Agnoment have for their skills? I don't even remember. Let me pull up what I have here. Let's do insight. We don't want too many at this level. Insight, again, bad at it, right? +3. And intimidation is a big one for them. And that's charisma, so that's +6. I like that. Insight and intimidation feel like plenty. I'll maybe put perception on here just so that way we have it. Although perception actually, let's put up. I like to do senses a little higher up here. Senses. So perception is +0. Maybe they're trained in perception. I'm fine with that. Passive perception is 13. Okay. We'll come back. I always put those at the bottom. I know they're supposed to go higher. Okay, I feel like there's languages, but so languages we're gonna say obviously common. Oh, funny, the Deva has languages all. Is that something that they retained? This like sort of universal omni. This like universal omni language tool. I don't know. It also says telepathy to 120 feet, and that seems crazy. Jose says I should make them a slaver. I don't know if they're a slaver necessarily, but I feel like their like cult is very mindless. Like the cult devoted to Agnoment is very almost unwilling. That there's this sense that these people that follow Agnoment don't get a lot of say in affairs, right? It's this cult of personality. So I don't know if it's 100% slavery, but I think it's close enough. You know what I mean? Slavery by another name. So let's say all for now, because I do think there's something interesting about that. That like no matter what language you speak, Agnoment can communicate with you. But I think telepathy is going too far. Maybe that again, the upper level version. Cool. Yo, what's up going on, Alan? Thanks for swinging through. Everybody, this is Alan. You can check out the first episode of The Watchtower today, and you can hear Alan's dulcet tones. He plays Ernst, our resident bone man. Yeah, man, we're designing some monsters. Oh, does Agnoment off followers with performance? Yeah, like sermons. I'm into that. Good call, Vaughn. Performance would also be +6. Cool. I think in I gotta do this too. This will be their last skill. They already have a lot. Because I gave them passive perception. Let's take that out. Screw that. Perception +0. Passive perception is 10. They don't care. Why? There's nothing to look at. But they have animal handling, which is really stupid. It was because Agnoment took folk hero, or Kate took folk hero as their background. They ended up with animal handling, and we were kind of like, how the hell do we do? What do we do with animal handling as a skill? And then we happened upon the idea that like Agnoment has this like calming effect upon animals, almost like Snow White style. That like they were designed to interact with nature and interact with other living things. That they have this calming presence, particularly around beasts. So you see it in the child when they encounter the deer. I wanted to kind of highlight if they're in the natural world that Agnoment could interact positively with beasts. So I definitely want to give them animal handling. They're not going to be incredible at it because I'm pretty sure it's wisdom based. But, yeah, let's throw that in there. I like it. Okay, cool. Oh, thanks, Alan. I'm glad you came here to the chat to talk to me about this. Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. If you guys haven't checked out the new episode, go give it a listen. It's a good time. Cool, so let's see. What do we want to do? We want to break into traits, then. So what kind of traits do we have? This is stuff like angelic weapons and things like that. So I need to think of a way to do angelic weapons without just carbon copying the ability there. So the way it reads on the Deva, it says, let me look at it. The Deva's weapon attacks are magical. When the Deva hits with any weapon, the weapon deals an extra 4d8 radiant damage included in the attack. Now that's obviously way too powerful to just use as written for a CR5 monster, right? But at the same time, and I also don't want to just take, like, they get extra radiant damage whenever they hit. I want to find a different way to achieve a similar effect. Like, how do we have this idea of Divine Smite without just carbon copying it? Like, let's make it a little bit more interesting. We talked about the idea of crit. So is it enough to say, maybe for the CR5 it is it enough to say that, like, the bow, I call it Celestial Bow or whatever? Maybe that's an attacks, but we'll just put this here for now. Agnoment's weapon attacks are magical. I think that's fine, whenever Is it? Ooh. So I was gonna say, whenever the bow scores a critical hit, the target takes an additional. And now I think we can put the 48 necrotic damage in there. So it's this heightened, extra nasty crit. Yeah, exactly. Vaughn and Brooke say bird whistling needs to happen. Yeah, but when Disney princesses go bad, it was very much inspired by that for sure. Yeah, cool. Thanks, Brent, for checking it out. And hey, Brooke, that's a great time to listen to the podcast. We wanted to specifically make them short so that way you could listen to them on the commute. I always say on the commute or when you're doing dishes are like the two ideal times to listen to podcasts because that's when I listen to podcasts. So I didn't want to make something that was 4 hours long that, you know, it would take you weeks to get through. I want something short and digestible. So do we think that that's okay for the bow? Like, is that going to make them underpowered, at least for now? It's something we could ramp up as well. We could also just lower the amount of damage and say that, like, whenever they hit, they deal an additional 2d8 radiant or 2d8 necrotic. But, like, I don't know. That feels kind of weak sauce to me. Let me know what you guys think, or if there's a better way to iterate that. I'm going to keep moving, but let's do innate spellcasting for sure. So they have yeah, they say the Deva's Agnomos spellcasting ability is still charisma because they're essentially a paladin. It's charisma. Spell save is DC, so it'd be 8 plus their proficiency bonus, which is 3, so that would be 11 plus 3, so it would be 14. It's not terrible. Agnomos can innately cast the following spells, requiring only verbal components. Yeah, so they're not, like, really spell casting in the traditional sense. It's more, you know, just innate angelic power, which I think is cool. Boy, Jose's coming up with all these crazy ideas. Have him have an ever open wound. Oh, that's kind of cool. And add the extra damage when the weapon touches the ichor blood from the next 5 turns. Oh, I see. That they can, like, they can infect themselves with their own bloody wound. That's so nasty. They can infect their weapons. Yeah, there's something kind of cool about that, like a pain, like a torture thing. Yeah. Let me think about it. I like the imagery, because my instinct is to say, like, their wings are cut off or something bad like that, but then they can't fly, and that feels like, what are you doing then? And that's Agnomos' whole thing, is flight. There's something cool with that, though, like almost like a stigmata kind of a thing. Oh, speak with animals. That's so silly. Yeah, let's make a list of some spells. So, at will would be cantrip type stuff. So the paladin spellcasting is not crazy. Let's see. What level spellcasting caster do you think they are? Let's maybe find another CR5 NPC or something that casts spells. Does the Barbed Devil have innate spellcasting? No. I mean, they could be a 5th level spellcaster. That might be the easiest way to do it. What does a paladin get at 5th level? Like, how many spells do they have? Speak with animals. It's funny. Let me look. Thanks for being patient with me, guys. I didn't have tons of plan rolling in to do this, so... A 5th level has 4 1st level spells and 2 2nd level spells. So let's look at our paladin spells and see what we can do. Oh, let's do this. Instead of speak with animals, Vaughn, let's say languages all can speak innately with animals. I like that. Not something Agnomont in the game can do, but, like, that's a good way to communicate it. Yeah, I like that. Actually, poison from the wound, black tears. Yeah, interesting. Let's see. Black tears are cool. I like black tears. So, 1st level spells, what do we see? What do we see them use? Shield of Faith, for sure. Let's just make a list of spells. They definitely use Shield of Faith at one point. I'm fine with that. You have to be careful, too, with some of these paladin spells because you don't want them to be too goody two-shoes. You know, these are, like, evil paladin spells. So let's go open link a new tab, and let's go Sorry, folks. I'm sure this is fascinating. I'm just digging around. All right, I'm going to go to Paladin. Look at the Oathbreaker spells, too, because I know Darkness gets used. That's an Oathbreaker spell. And Crown of Madness gets used as well. Black Tears. Oh, critical bow hit, also casting Entangle. That's cool. Maybe the feathers are gone from the wings and they are just skeletal, similar to her armor. These sickly glowing wings appear over the bones when they fly. That's kind of neat. I like that. But then, there's a flavor thing, right? Like, that wouldn't affect their mechanics. Yeah, Yvonne says, imagine black vine / thorns coming from the arrow. I like that. What if it's... Kate always flavored it just like smoke, so I could see it having a similar effect. Takes an additional 48 necrotic. Is that worth it to say like 3d8 necrotic and they're entangled? Because I'm worried that 48 necrotic plus entanglement, and they are grappled by wisps of black smoke. DC 13 to escape. Or DC 14 is their DC? Yeah. To escape. I like that. A little extra punch there. Oh, boy. Looking at Oathbreaker spells. Thanks for all your great suggestions, guys. Please don't feel bad or unappreciated if it doesn't quite work every single time. There's a lot of great ideas in here that I would never have thought of. So I appreciate all of the brainstorming. Oathbreaker Paladin. Oathbreaker Paladin. Here we go. Most of them are 3rd level, so we can't quite get to them yet. Oh, no, I see. So they would have Hellish... Ooh, Hellish Rebuke is good. That's not a 1st level, though. Hellish Rebuke. They have Inflict Wounds as well. Hellish Rebuke. What level is Hellish Rebuke? I think it's 2nd, right? Maybe 3rd. Yeah, pure flavor. I like that. Oh, it's a 1st. Screw it. They're putting Hellish Rebuke right in there, man. Hellish Rebuke. Cool. Inflict Wounds, too. I think those are good. Shield of Faith, Hellish Rebuke, and Inflict Wounds for their 1st level spells. Yeah, cool. Reduce the damage for Entangle. I think that makes sense. We are of one mind, Vaughn. One mind. And then Crown of Madness and Darkness are both, I think, 2nd level. So we can put those two. Let's think of one more, maybe. Madness and Darkness. Both good. Again, if we can use the ones that are used actually in the adventures, so much the better. Because I feel like then the people that buy it as Yogg fans will appreciate seeing things like that. I want to make as many connections as we can, but I also don't want to be shackled or hindered by those connections, you know. Do they get 2 or 3 2nd level spells? Cool. Yeah, so the plan is to do all 4 of the villains in some capacity. I have some cool ideas for some of them, especially like Desdemonia I think could be cool. And have them have the little packages, basically these little packets, so like 5 pages, 10 pages at the most of like, here are different versions of the villains, and here are maybe some minions to go along with those villains, or a cool location, or... For Desdemonia, I have this cool idea that whenever she charms you, it's like a template you can attach to other monsters. So like they're charmed by Desdemonia, and she charms a Minotaur or something. It's a Minotaur stat block, but it has like these couple of special abilities because it has like Desdemonia's favor, and you can give those to PCs as well if she charms a PC. But to do little standalone ones, and then either release them all as one volume, so it's like a 20-page thing. On the DM's Guild, or to do them individually. I'm not sure which one is better yet. But, of course, our patrons would get that for free. They wouldn't have to buy them on the DM's Guild. So if you're not a patron and you're watching this, go be a patron. I think most of you are. We got Vaughn, we got Brent. We got Jack is not. Hey, what's going on? Jack? Well, Alan, I don't know if it's necessarily a divine hitman. Agnoment, I think the way that Kate flavored the character was that they were basically a cult leader. And I don't want to get too particular into what the villain is used for, because the character would be dependent on... The villain would be dependent on the DM. The DM can use them in whatever capacity they want. They could absolutely be sort of a Darth Vader-esque enforcer for a bigger evil, kind of like they are in Yogg. But I also want Agnoment to be able to stand as their own villain with their own agenda. But that's actually a really good point, is what is their agenda? If they are their own villain, what are they up to? What kinds of plots could they be, instigating? Yeah, welcome, Jack. Thanks. Detect good and evil is good. Blindness, deafness for second level. Oh, blindness, deafness. That's the answer. Look at you coming in here, Vaughn. Blindness, deafness. I just want to see how many they get. If they only get 2, then I have to choose, and that's hard. Blindness is great because there's the flavor of all Agnoment's cultists blindfolding themselves, like they're not worthy to look. It's only 2, but they get 4 first level spells. Now I have to decide which one do I want to do. Let's do blindness, deafness for now, because I like that better. Blindness, deafness, and then we'll put darkness on a later version, because they'll get more second level spells. But blindness, deafness, yum, yum, yum. I like that a lot. So it could be a divine hitman, Alan. How would you use Agnoment in your campaign? Wahaha. Let's see. So that's the spells. Let me put them in here. So none of them are cantrips, so they can't use any of them at will, I don't think. Or I don't want to, if that's too powerful for a 5th level character. Yeah, they have Detect Good and Evil at will, and then once per day each commune and raise dead. So we have more spells here than they do. So we'll say, maybe we'll do this just to make it simple. 3 times per day each. Or per day each, we'll say shield, or yeah, 3 times per day. Not each. Why not? Shield of Faith, Hellish Rebuke, and Inflict Wounds. Hellish Rebuke could be a good legendary action as well. Although a legendary action is different from a reaction, I guess. And then once per day each would be Crown of Madness and Blindness, Deafness. Blindness, Deafness is one of those funny spells that I still remember fondly from 3rd edition when you cast it, or 3.5, and it was permanent. Like, you could dispel it with, like, restoration, but it wasn't, like, I think it saves now, right? Like, which makes a lot more sense mechanically, but it was, like, this nasty way for low-level wizards to go around punishing people, like, to permanently blind an NPC. We used to call the spell Blind Forever. Blind Forever, right? Like, you would just zap them when they were blind, and that was the end of it. I think they maybe made a saving throw, but otherwise, that was pretty much it. Okay, so I don't think that they have magic resistance. That feels too powerful for a CR5. Let's just roll right into actions then. So the Celestial Bow is the first one. And that is a ranged weapon. Ranged weapon attack. What does the vampire get to hit? What are we looking at here for bonuses? How's everybody doing? We're good in the chat? It's on brand. Oh, yeah, we forgot about the aura. The CR5 aura causes temporary blindness on a failed save. Okay, yeah, let's put the aura in. Thank you for reminding me. Now, this is a great 4th edition mechanic. I guess that would be a trait. Something about, like, aura of unworthiness, maybe, if it's about blindness. Any creature that starts their turn within 30 feet, keep it really nice and small, of Agnoment must make a wisdom saving throw. Wisdom saving throw. A DC 13. We should be really nasty. Let's do this. A DC 14 charisma saving throw. Because charisma saving throws are pretty rare, And I know that the fear effect that the Agnoment used is also charisma. So I like the idea of a lot of their spells being charisma saving throw based. That's cool to me. On a failed save, the target is blinded. Failed save, the target is blinded for 1 minute. They can repeat at the end of their turn. Once a creature has succeeded, there's some kind of particular phrasing here. On this save, they are immune to the effects of the aura for 24 hours. So another fun thing we can do to ramp up the power on that is we can take that function of it off. So that way the higher level auras are so nasty that like they just keep happening round after round after round, even after you succeed. Maybe that's too mean, but I kind of like that Agnoment is just this font of horrible necrotic radiance that shoots out. Very good, dude. Yeah, right. 3.5 blindness was nasty, Vaughn. It was just a curse. Like it was like a Vistani curse. A Bane effect is cool. That could be a later one. I think blindness is good to begin with for this aura. This is already a pretty hefty looking CR5 monster, right? Okay. Maybe we're getting too crazy here. I don't know. We'll do this, we'll stat it up, and then we'll see. I have 2 periods there. I'm sure this thing is riddled with typos. I have turned off the spell checker in my Google Docs because I don't like being interrupted while I work, and then I always forget to turn it back on and do a spell check. So there's probably all kinds of nastiness here. So the vampire spawn to attack, it's a +6 to hit. That seems about on par. +6 to hit. Oh boy, what is the range on a longbow? It's super far, man. Range X over X, X, X. If somebody wants to be a darling, they can look it up for me, but... Oh, crap, am I moving that around too much? Can you guys still see it? Yeah, okay. If someone wants to be a darling, look it up. Awesome. If not, I'm just going to move on. I'm tired of looking things up. So it should hit... I don't think it should hit for, like, the most damage. Do they have multi-attack? Does a 5th level paladin have multi-attack? I think so. Yeah, they just got it. So the Agnoment makes 2 celestial bow attacks. The hit is normally, yeah, it'd be 1d10 plus, 1d10 plus their dexterity, which is, what did we say? We said 18, so 4. Is that 9 damage is on average, right? 9? Something like that. If it's half of it's 5. Well, I guess maybe it's 10 damage because half of 1d10 is 5.5, right? Cool. Thanks, Brent. Just for now, I think to start, that's a good aura, and then we can juice it up. Yeah, man, you've had some really good hits on that. You and Vaughn both. Well, I mean, everyone's had good hits, but I'm just saying, I'm happy direction we're going. Someone tell me if that math is wrong, but I feel like that's right. Like 9 is average damage there. It's piercing damage. Piercing damage. So I don't want to do this yet, but I think a later version of Agnoment, if they have the nasty crit, they have the 4d8 or 3d8 plus entangle, I think that then we have them crit on a 19 to 20, right? Like maybe not now because this is already pretty chunky for a CR5, but I think we eventually get to that point where they're critting even higher. But they should just be, you know, this unerringly accurate. Cool. I think that's plenty for the bow attack. Like I don't think it has to do anything fancier than that. Like 2 shots, pow pow. Like I guess that's another thing we should think about. Like round by round, what is Agnoment doing? Is Agnoment really shooting all that often? I feel like it's maybe like casting a spell or 2 in the beginning to like lay the field. So you know whether it's Shield of Faith or what have you. I feel like Crown of Madness is a good way to start, or Blindness Deafness on a nasty bad guy. Aura of Unworthiness is good if they get in close, right? It's like a defensive maneuver or defensive measure. So maybe they are shooting most of the time. It's just trying to get that crit. Okay, cool. Let's move on. Then I think it's just the Aura of Fear. Like they have healing. Oh, we talked about that healing touch. I don't know if they still have it. Divine Smite, right? We talked about that. Magic Resistance we don't need. Innate Spellcasting. Oh no, I guess I do still have the spell checker on. Maybe it's on my personal account. I think the Gregorian Chant ability is good to give to the minions. Yeah, let's just do the Dreadful Shroud. That's fine, I think, for actions. You know, you don't want to overburden it. There's already a lot. Plus the spells, like... Okay, so Dreadful Shroud is basically Frightful Presence. Oh, thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. My voice is big in Angel. Oh, the voice is big in Angel Myth. Yeah. Thank you, Alan, for being a darling. 150 to... Wow, that's such a crazy range. 600. So Dreadful Shroud. I think the voice we have somewhat in there. That could be a later thing. Because we have Intimidation and Performance. But I don't know where else. I just don't want to saddle this character with any more juice. Because it feels like it's so much already. So how does Agnomaw's Dreadful Shroud work? So we did a combination. It's like two different things. So it's some of the Azamar, like the Fallen Azamar's abilities, and some of the Oathbreaker Paladin that have like an aspect of hate or something like that. And we combined the two into one ability because it was too confusing to keep them separate for her. Well, and for anyone. It was just like, it was a lot. So here's what I have for Dreadful Shroud. As an action, each creature within 30 feet of the angel must make a DC. In the case of the 10th level, it's DC 17 Charisma saving throw. On a failure, the target is frightened of the angel for 1 minute. If a creature frightened by this effect moves more than 30 feet away from Agnomaw, they can attempt another Charisma saving throw. Any creature that is frightened of Agnomaw takes an additional 10 necrotic damage from their weapon attacks. There we go. That's a good way to do it. So 10 is way too much, and DC 17 is too much. But if we take that text... Let me just copy this over because that'll be easier than retyping it. Put it into Georgia. Thanks so much for coming out and hanging with me, everybody. Like, this could have been... Oh, it is already Ariel. This could have been really boring and dumb, and you guys have made it really fun. I'm like already excited to do this next week. Okay, DC 14 is Charisma saving throw. On a failure, the target is frightened of the angel. Let's change it to Agnomaw. So it's 30 feet again. Is that too much of an overlap with the Aura of Unworthiness? Because this feels like an action. Like, boom, they do it once. And it, where the aura is consistent. Like, do we think there's too much overlap there? Oh, hey, what's up, Shadowner? Thanks for swinging in. Maybe Dreadful Shroud we save? I don't know. This is like... Kate's favorite ability for the character, so I would be really hesitant to like lose it. It's frightened of Agnomaw for 1 minute. Creature is frightened by this effect, moves more than 30 feet away from Agnomaw, they can attempt another Charisma saving throw. Any creature. So we'll change this to 5 necrotic damage. So it seems like this is a good opening play, right? That you blast out with Dreadful Shroud to begin with. People get frightened, and then they go with the bow and start trying to take advantage of that extra necrotic damage. What do you guys think? Is it too much to have Dreadful Shroud and Aura of Unworthiness? Can those be separate? I'm thinking maybe about shrinking Aura of Unworthiness down to 15 feet rather than 30 feet, because it just seems like it's two overlapping auras. Yeah, Brent, that's a good point. Flavor-wise, it feels like CR5 is recently fallen, so they've been crippled by that. CR10, they are gaining back some darker powers to supplant their old ones. CR15, they have come fully into their power. That's a really interesting way to do it. What if they don't have wings right now because their wings burned off? You know, like we could have them have the skeletal wings, and but maybe they can't fly yet. Maybe that's a good way to nerf some of their power. Because think about that too. If they're flying and doing all this nasty stuff, what do you guys think? I think it might be cool to take their wings away for this one. I don't know. I don't want to destroy Agnomaw by doing that, but that feels cool. It doesn't... Yeah, Dreadful Shroud. I don't know. I'm gonna shrink Dreadful Shroud to 15 feet. Makes sense to me right now. You have to be really, really close. And especially if they're not going to fly anymore, this gets all the more useful. I might even nerf some of these spells. I could maybe do this. Go once per day on some of those. And then keep Dreadful Shroud. I think that's better, because I feel like if you have so many spells you can use all the time. DC 14 is already pretty nasty. The Celestial Bow has the crit effect. Dreadful Shroud is pretty mean. Oh, we got to put in that same thing. Once a creature has succeeded on the save, they are immune to the effects of the Shroud for 24 hours. 24 hours. Okay, I'm going to move the ability scores up, actually, because I feel like I used to put them down here for old monster design, but yeah, that doesn't look good anymore. So let's go, where do they have them? They have them here. So let's just do this for now. It's not particularly elegant, but it'll work. See what you guys think about that stuff. Yeah, converting the wings into the Shroud aura, or require an action for both auras. Yeah, that would be fun. That sounds good. Okay, yeah, you guys think that that's... I'm happy that that works for you guys, because I was feeling like it was a little too powerful. Because we can... Listen, there's always up. We can always go up with these things, right? It's always better to shoot... Sorry, I mean, we can always go down with those things. It's always better to shoot more powerful and then bring it back in, right? Constitution... And especially with the way we're designing these, that we can do them at different... Oh, I didn't put intelligence in there. Funny. Intelligence is 11, in case you're wondering. This is good enough for now. I'll put it into like a nice block when we actually do it, but just for the purposes of this stream. Cool. Thanks for hanging out, folks. We're going to go for probably... Oh, it's only 6:30. We might go for a little bit here. I have something to do at like 8. So we might go to like 7:30. Maybe we'll do another hour. Cool. I feel good about that. What do you guys think? Is that a good Agnoment for the simple one? It's still pretty complex. But yeah, let's maybe do damage resistances. Damage resistance, because they like... Although, hear me out. Is it interesting if they are still immune to Radiant? Yeah, let's do this. Immune to Radiant. And then damage resistance, I know, to Necrotic. Or what about this? They just fell, right? Oh, Cool, thank you, Shadowrunner. Yes, that's one thing I'll have to do, is I'll have to look it over. I was trying to think of, like, with Brent's idea that this is Agnoment, like, at various stages that, like, CR5, they've just fallen, right? Like, so even just Agnoment Fallen Angel might be a better subtitle than Angel of Doom. That feels higher level. Fallen Angel. That they've just fallen. So they still have some of their angelic defenses and things. So, like, they are immune to Radiant right now. Maybe they're even vulnerable. Because I wonder, like... I like the idea of their proficiency with necrotic damage increasing as they get higher level. So they start with very little. They're not immune to it. Maybe they don't even deal very much of it. Things like that, right? Like, but then as they get more powerful, then their proficiency with necrosis grows, and they actually might even become vulnerable to necrotic damage, or vulnerable to radiant damage, right? I don't know. Maybe that's too much. But I think that's an interesting idea, like, to telegraph the story through the mechanics a little bit. That if it's this wax and wane relationship with necrotic damage and radiant damage. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. I'm just thinking of these things as we talk about them. I think resistance is better, at least for right now, but I want to toy with the idea as we design the other ones of, like, starting immune to radiant and then being resistant to radiant and then having no effect, or being like immune, normal, vulnerable, or something like that. I kind of think it's kind of cool. Like working in a back door to making the monster not so powerful. And that might be a good way to leaven some of our higher level things. So with Shadowrunner's point that, yeah, gain immunities later. It could start with resistances and become immunities as they get more and more powerful. That's a good point, Vaughn. With Shadowrunner's point that, the breakdown of monster CRs with powers is somewhere that all these things could be reworked. I think that's good for Agnoment at the moment. I'm into that. So if we have about an hour, what do you guys want to do? We can press forward with Agnoment. We can try to design or brainstorm powers for another one of the villains. I had also thought about maybe going into the Abomination and class design and designing that. Or we could also do some world building. I'm not super prepared for that, but there is a campaign I would like to run in the future on Dune that needs a lot of world building before I could get started with it. It would probably be the campaign that I would run after Yogg. And the more world building I can do on that, sooner the better. So that's something I'd like to do at some point, but it seems like there was more interest in doing monster and class design. So what do you guys think? Do you want to stick with Agnoment and go to the 10th level? Yo, what's up, Kate, everybody? Kate's here. Say hi to Kate. Yeah, Alan, that's exactly what it is. I dig it. It's like a larval Satan. It's like the bird that fell out of the nest early. Exactly. Yeah. So just picking one of those two traits as the better one. I want an aura. You know? What if we did this? What if we did that for now? So the aura is more important, and the bow gets more important as we get higher levels. So it's just like a regular celestial bow. And then it's also not so much juice, right? So much necrotic damage and so much juice right away. Yeah, everybody say hi to Kate. She's hanging out. Thanks for coming in. Yeah, I briefly mentioned to Kate, like, hey, we might design Agnoment. I hope you're cool with it, because we already did. We designed a version of Agnoment. I've been very clear that this is not necessarily your character, but this is an interpretation of Agnoment to give to the patrons. Cool. So I want to just real quick jot down some of these ideas we talked about for higher level stuff. Oh, we can talk about their minions too. Higher level abilities. Shit, I can't spell, you guys. So, Celestial Bow. Aura eventually suppresses healing. Grants Bane-like effects. Maybe even grants Bane to specifically like non-evil characters could be kind of cool. Like I like some of those old 3rd edition things that like punished alignment. Like that seems bad, but like I don't know. This is a like operatically evil character. It's a fucking yeah. I don't think that's necessarily bad. It's an idea anyway. Drift Shroud could get nastier. Oh, and fucking wings, right? Even nastier. More necrotic damage. So, like, I think that the Dreadful Shroud we keep right now because it's sort of like the first vestige of look at how bad things can get. Like, this is the darkness briefly seizing Agnoment, and it's just like, so again, like, as Kate compares it to in the episode, it's this flash of Galadriel, right? When Galadriel throws out her arms and you see how powerful she could be. I think we keep Dreadful Shroud because it's a taste of what to come, of the darkness really fully embracing Agnoment. But then wings come in, and then the fly speed can improve. So we start with like fly 60, or even fly 30, and then we do fly 60, and we get hover for the 15th level one. That like they can fly, but it's not crazy. Yeah, thank you, Kate. It's so cool to have you here, Kate. Kate and Alan, like my buds, my real life buds. Here they are in the chat. Very weird. Oh, I totally get that, Shadow. I totally get that it's about players more than it's about monsters, for sure. And I think for most monsters that's not appropriate. But when you're talking about something like as elementally black and white as like a fallen angel, right? These like, yeah, I make alignment great again. These like, how it even works. MAGA, MAGA. Ugh, that's gross. Alan says we should talk about minions. I think that's cool. But yeah, what I was saying is that Shadowrunner is that for something as like elemental as angels and demons, I feel like having some alignment-based powers is totally fine. Because there's like artifacts and stuff that do that, I'm pretty sure. Okay, let's talk cultists. So cultists the couple things I know is we establish in the podcast that the cultists, and Kate, you're here, so Kate's word would be worth even more here, right? Because it's Kate's character. So Kate, if you have any ideas about your cultists, please chime in. But we have specifically established that they're blindfolded, and then we have a whole thing with Agnoment and blindness that like unworthy to gaze upon the angel wearing blindfolds all the time. I like the idea of like them having blind sight because it makes them like there's an eeriness, like they're blindfolded but they still move around and act like they can see. That's something about the blindfolds. I don't know if it's like a magic item with the blindfolds, but something about wearing them in the presence of Agnoment gives them blind sight. Like I like that idea that they can see normally, but they choose to blindfold themselves, but then can still fight and act normally in combat. So we have blindfolded is one of the things. And I think the chanting is cool. I designed the mechanic a while ago. Paul Vanasek, who plays Sam in Season 2 and plays Eric in All Hell Yogg, approached me about designing an adventure for him. And I wrote a quick little thing about dwarven miners. And I gave the dwarves this mechanic I thought was kind of fun. I called it Work Song for them, right, as a joke that, hi-ho. But they, basically the conceit was that like as a bonus action, the dwarves could start to sing, and that whenever 3 or more dwarves were singing like together, every dwarf within earshot gained, I think it was some temporary hit points, and it was advantage on saving throws and like an extra d4 on damage rolls. So the notion that like the more cultists there are chanting, the more powerful they all become. But I like specifically that it was damage, like you hit harder, and it was advantage on saving throws, that you're able to overcome effects, and that you gain temporary hit points. Like you'll fight longer. It's not just advantage on attacks or things like that. It's specific morale-based things. Yeah, ooh, Blind Faith is really good. That's got to be the name of the ability. Thanks, Alan. Blind Faith. I'm into it. So then they're like immune to being blinded as well, probably. This is so cool, you guys. We have this fun little team of all these smart people helping me make a monster. Can you guys do this for all of my games? This would be great. Cool. Chanting. I like that. So we don't want to make them too complicated. It's got to be the kind of thing where you can have a bunch of them and fight a bunch of them together. So like it's got to be less than 1 CR. I imagine like a half or a fourth. Maybe a fourth is good because it's pretty small. What else is a fourth? Because there are cultists. Like that's a monster, but they're pretty weak. Like it's like a guy with a dagger. Yeah. 1/8. The standard cultist is, 1/8. Here, let me see if I can show you guys. Just give me a minute. But go listen to if you haven't yet, go listen to the new episode because it's really fun and Alan plays a cool character and I am excited for you guys to check it out. It develops the world out a lot in a fun way. The world of Ondune and specifically the world of Yoggoth. Not in this episode, but in a future episode, we get to like go to a Yogothic city and see what that's like, and it's fun. Yeah, I think it's a good time. We're really happy to have the players that we have. Where are the cultists? Orc Pub. I like Orc Pub. That's where I get my stat blocks from. Hey, what up, Sildari? Thanks for coming in, man. Oh, wow, we're talking a lot. Holy shit. Perhaps the cultists gain blind sight by giving over their sight to Yogg. Do they even have eyes anymore underneath those blindfolds? That's interesting. Yeah, Kate says, I like the idea that they're stronger together. Like, yes, hags have that. Not that they're particularly strong, but like fed by their community members. Yeah, they're burned out in green fire. Again, I think that's cool. I feel like we should try to steer away from Yogg as much as possible in these because I want these villains to stand on their own. But I think absolutely Agnoment's like evil fire or power could have overcome them. The notion in the podcast is that like Agnoment has these cultists all over the place. But I don't know, Kate. It's up to you. Do you think that Agnoment has like one small sect of cultists that follow them around, or do you think that Agnoment has like, chanting provides aid to Agnoment? That's really cool. Good hit, Alan. I like that. It's Alan and Vaughn working together, but I think that's cool. Maybe they choose to willingly fail to save against the blindness aura, and the blindfolds grant them blind sight. If the players can figure that out, they gain a way to protect themselves from the aura. Boom, you got it. So the blindfolds are covered in scripture, right? Like weird upside down reverse scripture. Yeah, I was sad about that too, dude. About Orc Pub. Yeah, I like their stuff. I'm gonna use their stat block. Thanks, Orc Pub. Let's take your cultist. So yeah, Shadowrunner says that the cult fanatic is CR2. I'm looking at the cultist. They're an 8th. I'm not even gonna copy this. This is pointless. They're an 8th or 2 weak. They have Dark Devotion, which the cultist has advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. Let's look at the cult fanatic, but that one I think is like a spellcaster, and I don't foresee these guys as being spellcasters. Okay, so let's synthesize these ideas. What do we have? We have blindfolds covered in scripture. That grant them blind sight. Here's the one thing with that. I like that a lot. I think that's really strong. I think we should put some kind of a limit on how long they can use the blind sight. Because it seems pretty broken to hand the characters here's just blind sight 15 feet forever. You know, maybe it's like for 24 hours or something like that they eventually burn up or they're expended. It's like a scroll. It's like you get it for an hour when you don it or when you write that. Like some kind of a time limit, because I just feel like here's blind sight forever is pretty tough. 1 hour. Okay, cool. Because it's even cool if you could use it, right, and then have you defeat Agnoment escapes, and you still have this power for an hour. If it's only 1 minute, it's the whole combat. But if it's an hour, then that's still kind of useful, right? Then they all burn up at once, maybe, or something like that. That's cool. So blindfolds covered in scripture. Cultists willingly fail the saving throw and rely on blindfolds. Eyes. Does they has them? What's under there? That in my head was Tom Waits. What's he building in there? Okay. Great. What else do we got? Chanting. Oh, yes, we wanted to see this side up. That's really funny. Vaughn, you're like such a classically trained like comedian. Vaughn in our dungeon crawls always comes in with these like what was I gonna say? Shadow says, I am free to consult on content creation. Well, that's excellent. I'm happy to have you here, buddy. Cult fanatic, I think maybe we could have one cult fanatic or like the cult leader. That could be interesting. But would that challenge Agnoment too much, right? Like Agnoment is the cult leader. I don't know. We could give them some spell casting. What do you guys think? Are they better as sort of just like chanting mindless drones, or do you think they could have a little bit of magical juju? What else does the cult fanatic get? Just multi-attack and dark devotion. Yeah. So we talked about the chanting. Boy, I'm on like 12 different threads right now. Real quick. So Vaughn is always dropping these like perfectly written little bon mots into chat in a dungeon crawl that always make me laugh. They're like, I don't know, it's like an older school of comedy that doesn't really exist anymore, and I don't know, I always appreciate that. So we said the chanting benefits Agnoment, right? So it grants those things to Agnoment. So while chanting, I think it takes 3, because 3 is my magic number. While 3 cultists chant, Agnoment gets plus 10 temporary hit points. Or something like that. I'm just going to write this down for now. Advantage on saving throws. Because that's cool that, like, it isn't just that it spreads out the damage or the targets during combat. It's that it, like, physically helps Agnoment fight better, right? And adds 1d4 necrotic damage to their weapon attacks. My one concern would be, could you fight these cultists on their own? Would they be any good? You know, if their chanting only helps Agnoment. Because I like the idea that if you have them, you could put them in a fight with Agnoment, right? And that's their like preferred state. But if you're designing an adventure, like let's say you're going into Agnoment's secret lair right up in the rafters of this cathedral or in a graveyard or whatever. You want to have the like setup encounters. So are these cultists, if the chanting only helps Agnomah, are they just guys with blindfolds? Like, is there anything else going on? I mean, maybe that's okay if they're CR. Oh, the blindfolds lower your charisma save. Oh, that's fascinating. But then, yeah, you can see, but you might still fail. You would fail your charisma save against Dreadful Shroud, maybe. But you would also fail your charisma save against the Aura of Unworthiness. Oh, sure, that's the idea. Yeah, that the blindfolds give you disadvantage on the charisma save, so you can wear them, but they give you blind sight. But you could still be frightened. That like the cultists are extra susceptible to Agnomah's fear ability. That's rad as hell. Yeah, okay, cool. So cultists, let's see, charisma, disadvantage on charisma saves. While wearing. I'm into it. Let's see. Hive Mind, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of a hive mind thing. I think they don't, that Agnomah almost like overwrites their autonomy, right? That they kind of view Agnomah as like the queen bee, and they don't have a lot of individuality left. I think that's cool. That the longer they spend worshiping this angel, especially if it's like, it's all about this light, like this blinding, I can't see the world anymore, I can't see who I was or what my life is, that like they are sort of mindless drones. The longer you spend around this angel, the longer you spend venerating this angel, the more it erases who you were, and you just become kind of a shuffling corpse, basically. Okay, so I want it to be relatively low CR, right? If Agnomah is CR5, let's open up our friend Kobold Fight Club for a second here. If Agnomah is CR5, what level do we need to have the PCs be, essentially, to fight them and some cultists? And like what level, let's say that there are 4 PCs in their 5th level, right? Because like a vampire spawn, that's going to be like an average encounter. Reset filters, vampire spawn. Oh, it's an easy encounter. So we have 4 PCs in their 5th level. A CR5 is an easy encounter. So if they're 3rd level, then it's a medium encounter, and if they're 2nd level, it's a deadly encounter. But if we have 4 PCs in their 5th level and we add even 1 CR4, that becomes a medium. 2 becomes hard. Yeah, okay, that's actually not bad. So, sorry guys, this is a little bit off the stream here, but a CR5 monster plus 4 CR4 monsters is a hard encounter, which I think that's actually about right, you know? Oh. Okay, we got a bunch of ideas here. So Brent says, maybe their spellcasting is tied to the lair at CR15. They grant it while in their presence or through the blindfolds. I like that. The lair is good. I think that's, the cultists can get more powerful too. Alan says, the thing that's spooky about cults is the groupthink. Like, if there are a lot of them, they're more powerful individually. Could be they have access to a cantrip if there's more than 3 of them? Yeah, that's good. I was thinking this too. Vaughn says maybe they designate one cultist as an Agnomah proxy when Agnomah isn't around. So one cultist gets buffed by the chanting. What a cool idea for like the cult leader, that they're wearing like a fake angel costume almost, with these weird spooky wings that don't work, and that like they wear like a mask or something, like a featureless mask, to make themselves like they're Agnomah's proxy. And even that, Agnomah's proxy as a monster name is really fucking cool. So I like that. So then you can fight a couple of these cultists that are still powerful, and you can fight like a proxy, right, that's not as powerful as Agnomah, but can give you a taste of what that's going to be like when you do face the actual one. Bingo, we got it. So it seems like we need 3 monsters. We need Agnomah, and Agnomah's 3 forms, I guess, so we need 5 monsters. Agnomah in their 3 iterations, 5, 10, and 15. And then we need a cultist, and then we need a cult leader, Agnomah's proxy, right? To basically stand in for Agnomah. Okay, cool. So let's see. Maybe the chanting is targeted. When Agnoment is around, Agnoment is the target. When not around, another cultist becomes the avatar of Agnoment. Yep. Perfect. So then what's a good CR? So I think the cultists themselves are CR 14. Let me get back into this document. Can you guys still see? Did I bump it around too much? No, you can still see it. If I do this, does that screw it up? Yeah, okay. Sorry, guys. That's not very much fun to look at. So the cultists, I think, are CR 14, the chanting. Cultists chant Agnoment or Agnoment's proxy. Sorry if I'm getting too excited, guys. I just think you have some really interesting and fascinating ideas that I would never have come up with on my own. So what do we need then for, let's see. Okay, there. Now you can look at this. This is Kobold Fight Club. If you guys don't use Kobold Fight Club, you should. So I'm using Aarakocra because they're CR 14. So if we want a medium encounter, which is I think kind of what we're aiming for, what should the proxy be? We're going to go with the CR2 because that's the cult fanatic. That's still easy. So we could up the number of cultists. We could do something like this. You'd have to up it a lot. If you get 8 cultists, feels like too many. So maybe a CR3 is better than a CR2. So let's do 4 of these. And then a CR3. And Kylosaurus. Still easy. CR4. But that seems like CR4 seems like you're getting really, really close to Agnoment. I don't like that as much. What if we did 3 and then we did 6? Yeah, 6 cultists. I think that works. So if it's like 6 cultists and an advanced cultist, right? A proxy, then as one encounter, right? Then a separate encounter could be Agnoment and 4 cultists, and that would be a medium fight and a hard fight, assuming 4 PCs and assuming all that stuff. Yeah, oh, that's really good. The adventurers could show up to a fight to fight the cult leader, thinking it's a nut job wearing an angel suit, and then they actually discover Agnoment. I'm fucking into that, you guys. This is so cool. I hate to be a big dork, but I'm having a really good time. Okay, great. So then the Agnoment's proxy is then a CR3. So they're a pretty powerful cult leader, right? Like that's not nothing. That's better than the cult fanatic by, you know, a whole point. Let's talk about this. That definitely feels like spell casting then at that point, right? Like, especially if they're kind of like, I'm acting as Agnoment. So we'll look at cleric spells, right? Cleric of Death, Oathbreaker Paladin stuff. Because, like, yeah, if the idea is that the Agnoment's proxy, if that's the term, I still think it's cool. Or proxy of Agnoment, maybe. If that's... If their job is basically to replicate Agnoment, then they would have to have, like, crappy, low-rent versions of some of Agnoment's abilities, right? Do they have a bow? They obviously have, like, the shitty wings. Yeah, right. The first rule of Kobold Fight Club is not talking about Kobold Fight Club. Agreed. I love it. It's a great site. My friend turned me onto it. You guys should use it. I have kind of a bone to pick with the way that they do encounter design in 5e. I don't think it's bad. Oh my gosh, you guys can't even see this. Sorry. Oh boy. I gotta look at my OBS more. I'm not paying any attention to it. That's better. Sorry. Please feel free to be like, hey dude, I can't see this shit. Get it out of here. Because I'm jumping between 12 different windows. Yeah, okay. So they would need to have like low rent versions of some of Agnoment's abilities. I don't think they have auras. That doesn't make sense to me. Maybe they use spells to recreate some of Agnoment's inherent abilities, right? So they might have fear, the spell fear. But we don't want to steal any... Let me get rid of these. We don't want to like take any of Agnoment's thunder. Hold my beer, proxy. More cultists. Lit up the room with cultists. A conclave of 7 there must be. Yeah. Hold my beer, proxy. Zealous, fear immunity, simple spells. Yeah, I mean, the Zealous thing is always good. We can maybe give them that, the Dark Devotion. Dark Devotion advantage on saves against Charmed. What else? He said simple spells. Fear immunity is good, yep. Immune to fear. Can't fly, right, but has wings. Immune to fear. I like the idea of trying to replicate some of that stuff. So what if they have, like... I think the distinction is that they're, like... Their DC is really low. If Agnomaw's DC is, like, 14, even at CR5, their DC's got to be, like, 11. Like, it's a shitty DC. So they cast fear, but it doesn't work. Like, you overcome it, and you think, fuck these guys. These guys are mooks. Right, these are knuckleheads. They don't know what they're doing. Then when you fight Agnomaw, the DC is much higher, and the consequences are much worse. So what are some spells? Fear is good. I guess that's the only, like... blindness, deafness, right? It can, like, make you blind. If that's, has the aura. And the chanting, too, right? That's in there as well. Avatar of Agnomaw. You got it. Vaughn is a man after my own heart. Alliteration is, like, near and dear to me. Would they be a bard or have, like, a disguise? I think they do have a disguise. I don't know if they'd be a bard, but I think they would have a disguise, quote-unquote, but I don't think it's meant to, like, fool anyone into thinking that they are actually Agnomaw. I think it's very ceremonial, right? Like, I like the idea of, like, a steel featureless mask or something spooky. And then big, like, fake wings behind them, you know, very occult seeming, but not effective. I think that the Avatar of Agnomaw almost needs to feel like a bit of a pushover in order to make actual Agnomaw work. Yeah, totally. You're exactly right, Vaughn. I don't know why that didn't occur to me earlier. The Avatar has to cast blindness, deafness. It is on brand, sir. But they would have good performance for skills. Okay, that's a good point. Performance. Intimidation, like the same things that Agnomaw does. There could be, Alan made a point earlier about, like, the word. There could be something about, like, if Agnomaw isn't around a lot, they might have some kind of a preaching ability. That might be their big money, right? That makes the chanting better or, like, improves the chanting or something like that. You know, if it's, like, if 3 cultists are chanting, then that gives the aspect or the Avatar of Agnomaw more power. But if the Avatar is preaching, then that even more. I don't know. I don't want to break the bank here, but something like that. Oh, what are you finding in there, Alan? Tell me about that thesaurus. Bane is good. Let's just throw a couple spells on here. Because the other thing, too, guys, is that as long as we generate the ideas, I can go home and I can synthesize them and show them to you next time. Deacon of Agnomaw is good. I mean, I do like the idea of it being some kind of a stand-in. That they have authority in the church, but the notion that almost anyone who takes on that role has these powers. That's something about the mask or, like, them giving... It's like the cult giving power to Agnomaw is what makes them, like, powerful. So it's not about their rank. It's about, like, how they're a stand-in, right? They're a proxy. Deacon is strong, though. I do like Deacon. And very, like, Catholic, you know. We're using a lot of sort of Catholicism imagery here. One thing I like about this chat right now, you guys, is I think we have 5 people in. That's what it looks like. I see Vaughn, I see Alan, I see Brent, I see Shadow, and I see Kate. When we had Jose in here, he counted. Okay, he's out to play Strahd. We have Sildari. Everyone has said something. That's what's so cool, is you guys are here. We're all doing this together. Oh, yeah, one could go Warlock with Agnomaw as patron. That's really fucking cool. This is the problem with a lot of the, like, RPG design that I do, is that I want to add so many things. When I released Secrets of the Sandfolk for XP Season 2, it was originally just like, the race. And then I was like, well, I gotta put the Chakram in here because they're proficient with the Chakram. And then I was like, well, if I'm gonna do that, then I might as well do some monsters, you know, that DMs could use. I shouldn't just be for players. And I'm like, well, if I'm gonna do that, then I might as well do the monk build, the Way of the Sand. And so, like, This is the problem, is that now I want to put, Agdama as like a warlock patron in there too. But I guess you could just choose, I guess that would be the fiend, the def. How I want to make a separate, different build for Pact of the Fallen Angel. I'm so into this, you guys. Okay, let's try to organize some of these ideas here. So we want a CR. Actually, you know what? Okay, let's try to think of a cool preaching ability real quick. Insert ability here. And then I want to do layer actions. This is a higher level Agnoment thing, but I want to get some ideas down for that because we're not almost out of time. We got about 20-ish minutes left, and I want to get something on the board. So let's talk about preaching, and then let's talk about layer actions. So we talked about layers a little bit earlier. Ideas being like a graveyard or an abandoned church or like the gables of a cathedral, right, Notre Dame style. We talked about stone angels animating and attacking, that those are kind of consistent across all of those. So let's definitely do something like that. I think the vampire or Strahd maybe. Ooh, Apostle of Agnoment is real fucking good. Hey, look at Kate coming in. I want to write some of these ideas down. Avatar / because Apostle is a nice mix of being alliterative. Yeah, and Avatar is, Hindi, right? Specifically in Hindu mythology. So maybe Apostle is better because it's like Christianized Catholic. I will put Deacon in here though too. Deacon. All good. I mean, even Proxy I think is fine because I like how that emphasizes the fakeness, that it's not really Agnoment. So we have stone angels come to life. If we're CR15, they could be gargoyles, but I don't know how many we could do. I know Strahd has a legendary action in Ravenloft where he can make a player's shadow come to, or like summon a specter. So maybe a couple of gargoyles, like 1d3 gargoyles or something like that. And then maybe they only fight for a couple of rounds. Yeah, maybe it's CR15, the cultist could include a warlock. I like that. Yeah, that's a good point. I think Vaughn says, does Agnoment share power? Yeah, I think that's cool too, Shadowner. Sorry, let me address Vaughn's thing first. I'm getting sucked into the chat. You guys are so smart. Yeah, sorry, okay. Let me talk about these individually. So, does Agnoment share power? I don't think so, but I feel like Agnoment might lend power. You know what I mean? Agnoment might... Because, right... Oh, no, I think you're right. Because the way it works right now is that Agnoment is empowered by the cult. The cult doesn't get power from Agnoment. They give power to Agnoment. So I don't know if that relationship would actually work. Yeah, Shadowrunner makes the point that the funny thing is the power the proxy uses doesn't function when Agnoment is present. But I think that's very true, that a proxy... I don't know if there's a way to do that mechanically, but the proxy like loses all their junk. Maybe they still have some of their spells, but they don't get their the chanting boost, right, if Agnoment is there. Apostle, I think, is good. Preaching could be a charm effect. That's good. Let's put that down. Hand of Agnoment is good. Put Hand in there, too. I'm leaning towards Apostle, but I do like Weird. There might be maybe the Cultists are like called Hands of Agnoment or something like that. Because I feel like it would be Face of Agnoment or Voice of Agnoment, right, for the Apostle. I still think Apostle's yummy, but there might be a way to use some of the church organ stuff for the individuals. The Spleen of Agnoment. Let's do that. No, of course not. The Gallbladder of Agnoment. So something with charms. Yeah, so then for layer actions, Brooke said the stone gargoyles come to life. Ooh, Brent might have the answer there. The proxy's title could change at each CR jump. I don't know if I want to do a proxy at each CR, though. That's a lot of work. I mean, if they're simple enough, if it's just changing maybe the DCs on the preach ability and the spell selection, that shouldn't be too hard. I'm just worried that this document is getting really fat. If we have 3 different Agnoments, 2 different kinds of cultists, and cultists that jump with each one of the the CRs. Because I feel like once you get past CR5, or you maybe CR10, you should be fighting Agnoment and not fighting these cultists anymore, you know? I don't know. I could probably do higher level versions of the cultists. We'll see. I don't want to get too crazy. Guys, what about lair actions? Oh, what if the preaching makes you chant? Right? That, like, then while, like, you make a charisma saving throw, if you fail the charisma saving throw, each round you have to spend your bonus action to chant and make them more powerful. Right? So you're losing your bonus action, but you're also making the proxy more powerful. Or the apostle or whatever. That's very cool to me. Forces, and the idea that, like, you're not fully charmed. I mean, you're charmed maybe mechanically, but, like, you are still fighting them, but your mouth is moving, like, without your knowledge, right? Without your consent, and saying these things that you don't want to say, to chant and lend their strength to the apostle proxy hand. We gotta pick one of these. Apostle proxy hand deacon avatar. Can we just do them all? I mean, yeah, the name Arrows of Agnoment. Ooh, Arrows of Agnoment is good. The thing is, we could even just have, like, the name change mechanically, or name change in flavor, right? Like, in the description of the minions, you could talk about how they have many different names. Some of them are called some of them are called the hands, the arrows, or whatever. Arrows of Agnoment. Cool. Lair actions, you guys. Lair actions. So, normal holy divine stuff is like summoning angels, but I don't feel like Agnoment has access to angels anymore. High-level Agnoment can use Raise Dead, or like Animate Dead, I think. So it could be Skelos, but I feel like that's kind of the same thing as Stone Angels. What are, like, other lair actions? Fat documents are good value. You're right, Vaughn. Can't say you're not right about that. I like them being, like, nice and crisp, but yep, you're not wrong. Lair actions. Uh, 5e. Lair actions. She's right. She's just. Or they are right. They are just. They are only doing what they must. Looking for lair actions. Oh, that's in the basic rules. So it's usually like environmental effects, you know? I think the Mummy Lord has lair actions, right? I'm trying to think of like normally lair actions come with monsters that are doing as she should. Lair actions come with monsters that have like that are huge monstrosities, like dragons and titans and stuff. But there are a couple of them, like vampires and mummies, that have, I think, sphinxes. The Sphinx lair actions are fascinating, actually. That come with oh, maybe this Mummy Lord just has legendary actions. Well, we can come back to it if people aren't into lair actions tonight. That's fine. It's for a higher level Agnoment anyway. Oh, no, they do have them, I think. Am I crazy? Do Mummy Lords have lair actions? Let me know. I thought that they did. Oh, this looks like it's homebrew. Because the Mummy Lord is a CR15. That seems like a good way to go there. As a basis, right? No divine spells in their lair. Yeah, I wanted something like that. Yep. No divine spells in the lair. Boy, that like hoses the shit out of a cleric. Maybe there's something about like disadvantage on, or like every time you want to cast one. Every time you want to cast a divine spell, you have to. Hold on, let me check OBS. Can you guys see that? Okay, great. you have to... I'm sorry, I'm so gross and slouched. I keep forgetting to look at OBS, and then when I look at it, I'm just like, hey guys, working on the stream over here. Let me get back into shot, for God's sakes. You have to make a saving throw or something, right? I don't want to just say no divine spells, but like an interdiction on divine spells is really smart. I like to shake faith. It's good. Thanks, Alan. Thanks for doing my work for me, buddy. Now I don't have to do my work. I just could have sworn that Mummy Lords had lair actions. No, they do. They do. I knew that they did. I'm a smarty boy. Come on, Mummy Lord. Where are you at? Here we go. Open image in new tab. Oh, of course, it's tiny. Try to find these Mummy Lords. What about relics as mimics? As mimics? I'm not sure what you mean by, like, you're saying, like, actual, like, I could see, like, the relics being cursed or something like that, but the idea of, like, mimics as a monster doesn't feel like a very angelic or demonic monster, you know? Lair actions is cloud effects, wall effects, minion effects, mobility modifications. Huh. Cloud effects, wall effects. Wall effects seems interesting. I don't know what exactly that would be. Like walls of light or walls of ghosts or like spectral saints or things like that. I'm trying to think, like, what keeps coming to my head are the, like, this is kind of the Stone Angels, but the, like, the saints of Notre Dame in Hunchback, right? Like the very eyes of those guys. Is there some way to do like guilt as a lair effect? Or like despair or something? Maybe that's crazy. I don't know. I like guilt. I think guilt is very on brand for Catholicism, he says, as a former Catholic. Anti-divine spell is cool. I agree. I totally agree. But I think Shadowrunner's onto something when he says like different kinds of lair actions. So something like a cloud is wrong. Not wrong, but like a cloud doesn't feel on brand. Like area effects, you know? So Stone Angels animate, like make minions or bring minions in. Anti-divine magic like dampens PC power. Is there something protective? So yeah, like a wall would make sense. Yeah, right. That's probably why I can't find the mummy ones. They're in the text. They're not in the table. If I had my monster manual. It's a good note to bring it next time. But I remember the Mummy Lord having a couple of good, like, weird, like... Because, again, most lair actions tend to be things like, you know, volcanoes exploding or clouds of steam or something like that, which, like, none of that really works for Agnoment. But the Mummy Lord and the Vampire have some okay ones. Sorry if I'm getting rambly, guys. I'm trying to, like, latch onto this idea. So, here we go. So the Mummy Lord has each undead creature in the lair can pinpoint the location of each living creature within 120 feet of it until initiative count to 20 on the next round. That's okay. There's all this undead stuff. Each undead in the lair has advantage on saving throws against effects that turn undead. But, yeah, they're not really going to have a lot of turning stuff. Yeah, sure. So the Mummy Lord has an interdiction. On initiative count 20 on the next round, any non-undead creature that tries to cast a spell of 4th level or lower in the Mummy Lord's lair is racked with pain. The creature can choose another action, but if it tries to cast the spell, it must make a DC 16 Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, it takes 1d6 necrotic damage per level of the spell, and the spell has no effect and is wasted. Oh my gosh, that's brutality. Oh. Or just like, like Kate saying, or just like relics, you know, hanging out. Fear-based lair actions are good. Blinding light is good. You got a bunch of ideas here. Yeah, oh, so there you go. Alan, something about blinding light, like you can't hide. Cannot hide. Visions of Torment. Agnoment picks one character to make a charisma saving throw or be paralyzed by visions of the hellish afterlife or something. I think that's cool. Maybe as a higher level Agnoment power, like a legendary action. I think that's neat. Legendary action. Like guilt trip, essentially. Guilt trip. Agnoment. Oop. How do you spell guilt, everybody? Thanks for coming up with all these great ideas, everybody. Agnoment targets one creature and forces them to make a charisma save. On a failure, they are paralyzed, potentially. I feel like there might be a more interesting, like, effect there. Yeah. Lair causes vulnerability to necrotic is pretty good. To necrotic damage. I might put something about those relics in there. There's something kind of cool that, like, Agnoment would send cultists out to collect relics, even just like as a like a plot idea. It's maybe more of a thing, like how you could use them. That like Agnoment is seeking out relics that could maybe restore them or something like that to their former position. I like that. C-Kate, you got good ideas. So I have a question for you, Kate, since you're here with us, hopefully still. Vaughn asks, does Agnoment represent pride or vanity? Alan goes on to say, Vaughn, that's super on brand for fallen angels in Judeo-Christian lore. Pride was supposedly his thing. Satan's, I mean. So Agnoment in All Hell Yog, as we discussed, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Kate, but as we discussed, Agnoment was basically jaded and, like, convinced that... So the gods in All Hell Yog are a little bit different than they are in standard D&D. They're very distant. They made the world. I can't wait to grow up. They made the world, and then they abandoned it and sort of left it to mortals to deal with. So angels in Ondune aren't sent by the gods. They're basically like divine elementals. If enough people, and this really is actually on brand with how we did the cult, if enough people believe and have faith in the gods, they can use that in a ritual to manifest a being composed of pure goodness or of pure evil or pure whatever. And Agnoment is one of these, was basically by one of the human churches, one of the big evangelizing churches in the world. Oh, for sure, Vaughn. Guilt Trip is not going to be the actual name for it. I was just joking. That could definitely be Vision of Doom or Vision of Apocalypse, for sure. I was mostly kidding. But the conceit is that Audit Conscience is really funny. But the conceit is that they are removed from the gods. So it's Agnoment's job to try to bring people to bring people back to faith and to turn them away from Yog and turn them away from wickedness. And so seeing so many people refuse to do that and seeing the faithlessness of humanity and seeing, you know, the depravity and the wickedness and whatever, that like Agnoment chose instead to like bring about the apocalypse in an attempt to like reinvigorate people's faith. So it's like cynicism, you know, like that could be pride, I guess, if it's pride in the sense of I'm better than humanity, I'm better than these mortals. I don't know. It's a good question. I don't think it's vanity though. I don't think it's like about Agnoment, like I'm the maybe that is. Is there that much difference between pride and vanity? Questions to ponder. There's a bunch of things in the chat. So Audit Conscience is so funny. But I do like advantage for good aligned characters, that like good aligned characters would actually do better than neutral aligned characters, especially if you want to maintain that sort of like Claude Frollo Hunchback thing, that like some of the best villains are villains that think that they're the good guy. I mean, most good villains think that they're the good guys, but the notion of like Agnoment shaming neutral and evil characters almost more than good aligned characters, right? That a good aligned character is confident in their goodness and so would have advantage on those saves. I think is good. Brent has a good hit on maybe the lair dampens radiant energy. I think you could do the same thing. You could like give them vulnerability to necrotic damage and dampen and dampen radiant energy. Yeah, Kate has a good hit here. She says, I think it's pride masquerading as humility. There's a lot in the Child where you hear Agnomaw's little speech at the very beginning of the first episode talking about like how you have to devote yourself and you have to eliminate the self, and that greed and want are all vanity, and they're all going against what the gods want from you, that you're supposed to live this life of service. And I think it's abnegation of the self. I hate that word. I've read it a bunch of times, but I don't know how to pronounce it. But yeah, the notion of want and desire as being obviously inherently selfish. I like the humility angle, right? That's why Agnomaw doesn't have fancy clothes or wealth or ostentatious dress. It's all down to earth. Oh, that's so good. Their faith brought them into being. Their faithlessness brought about their fall. I'm into it. Yeah, Shadowrunner makes a good point. The Koatoa also use mass belief to create a god, so there is some precedent for it for sure. Okay, we have a lot of good lair actions here. Okay, guys, I feel pretty fucking good about this. Look at all the work we did. I was really not sure that this stream was going to be worthwhile because I didn't know who the hell was going to come and hang out. And look at all you guys who came and hung out. We have 2 of our players here. We have a bunch of our patrons. This is awesome. Thanks so much for swinging through, everybody. This has been rad. So let me ask you, we have 5 minutes. What do we want to do next time? So I will be here next week. We'll be streaming next week. I'll be off the week after that because, as Kate and Alan know, I will be in Los Angeles recording the next arc of All Hell Yogg. So what do we want to do next week? I can take some of these things and I can synthesize them into at least making the Cultists. But do we want to go back to Agnomaw next week and wrap them up? Do we want to move on to Desdemonia? Do we want to work on something else? We could do the class design for the Abomination is another thing people have expressed interest in. We can also do world building in general. What are you guys interested in? You're the ones coming to the chat. What do you think would be fun to work on next week? It probably could be, I know what's best. Follow my lead, stupid mortals. Yeah, exactly. Oh, you can't see the typing? Thank you for letting me know. Oh, wait, no. Okay. Typing is way down here, right? Thank you. What do you think? Like, I'm happy to keep working on Agnomaw next week to try to synthesize, or try to, like, design the CR10 and the CR15. I think that makes the most sense. And then once we're done with that, we can move on to Desdemonia. Does that feel good for everybody? I'm into it, if you guys are. Yeah. I think that this is cool. So I'll do a little bit of research, too, into some of the lair actions to see what the basis for some of these are. If I had to pick right now, I think the gargoyles are, like, they're there. I think it's not bad, but I think some of the other ones are more interesting. The blinding light is cool. I like the vulnerability to necrotic and radiant damage. Energy dampened. You could either be the... Yeah, I can't decide if it's better that if the necrotic damage increases or if the characters have vulnerability to necrotic damage. I don't know. Well, one of those two, for sure. We'll have to decide whether we want Avatar, Apostle, Deacon, Proxy, or Hand as the as the name, because I feel like, there's just a lot of options right now. We just have a lot of different options. Okay, cool. Awesome. So real quick, let me just do a little bit of plug. Yeah, you know what? Most of you folks are patrons already, so you don't need to go check out our Patreon. Yo, listen to All Hell Yogg, everybody. The lair could cast Dispel and thus strip away some of the player's pride. Yeah, that's cool. I know what's best. Follow my lead, stupid mortals. Put Dispelling on there under lair action. Dispel magic on characters. Stripping away their pride. So this document that you're currently looking at, yeah, Desdemonia. You guys want to do Desdemonia next week? What do we think? Oh, am I on a delay? Can you... I don't know. The class or the world building sound fun. Okay, we have 1 vote for world building, or class/world building. What do you mean? What do you guys mean by a delay? Now I'm confused. So we have 1 vote for I want to finish what we started. We have 1 for Desdemonia. Brent says he's down for all of those, but class or world building sound fun. I think we can probably wrap up Agnoment next time, and then maybe put a little bit of work into some class design or world building. Let's maybe do that. Let's maybe finish up Agnoment and then go from there. Yeah, I think that's, let's do Agnoment next time. At least finish them up if we can. Sorry guys, am I lagging a lot? I can't tell. I don't seem to be, but let me know if I am. Just want to see what the deal is here in the chat. Yeah, I love cults. Cool. Well, all right. Well, thanks so much for tuning in, everybody. A couple of quick housekeeping things. Obviously, I've talked about it enough, but there is a new episode of All Hell Yogg out. Go check that out. This document that I have with all these ideas in it, I'll continue to work on this over the week to try to synthesize the cults and get all that stuff down. I will post a link to that on Patreon. Our patrons can go and check it out and make suggestions or post ideas and see how their work is going over the course of the week. And then next Sunday, we will talk about it. I'll try to have maybe the first half of the stream next Sunday be, oh boy, I was going to say words, be Agnoment, and the second half be something else. That would just to diversify it a little bit. Thanks, of course, for coming out. It's been awesome. We're a couple of other little things. We're running a giveaway right now on Twitter. So if you head to XP Web Series, you know, guys know our Twitter handle, but I'll throw it in the chat anyway. If you want to, it's a free Hero Forge mini. All you got to do is retweet and follow us, which I assume most of you are already following. But go ahead and grab it. It'd be awesome if we could get a patron to get that, as opposed to a rando. Here is the tweet. Let me get the link. Just go ahead and grab it. Retweet that. Oh, sorry guys. I don't mean to be bouncing between windows. I have the chat open. Maybe there's just a delay, because I think I have a lot of windows open. Sorry, folks. I hope that's better. Ooh. That's the last thing I want. Okay, cool. So check that out. Go ahead and give us a retweet. Yeah. That's another thing. This is definitely a learning process. So I'm trying to figure out what is the best way to manage all the various different tabs. I think next time I'm going to try to come with a monster manual and come with a little bit more tactile stuff, so that way I don't have to be jumping around in all the various different windows, because it's kind of a lot for just me, and just have a little bit more prep. But so sorry, as I said, the document will be up on the Patreon. You can check that out. That's for our $5 and up patrons. I'm probably going to be revamping the Patreon coming up pretty soon. I know I say that a lot. But yeah, otherwise, I think we're all good for next week, right? It'll be the same time, probably the same space. Thanks so much for coming out, everybody, and helping me design this monster. This has been a real blast. It was awesome to have Kate here. It was awesome to have Alan here. I mean, it was awesome to have you all here, but I'm just really glad that everyone was so down and willing and having a good time. Great. So thanks for watching, everybody, and until next time, happy adventuring.